Hi, welcome to Love is Alchemy for May 2026. This month we're going to talk a little bit about a topic I would probably just say a new way of living in the world. And it came about as a combination of experiences and then a channeling that I received from Archangel Gabriel that sort of put it in perspective for me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about both, and then I'll bring through another channeling and see what else wants to be added to this message. We have a couple cats, and one of them passed away a couple weeks ago, and the whole process of kind of working with that transition taught me a lot. And I've been through a lot of deaths with family members over the course of my life, and there's so much to be learned from every time I've had that experience. And it's interesting that with our sweet little guy, his name was Enzo, there were just as many lessons with him. And so he what happened was he was already sick, and he was a pretty old guy, but he was doing really great. And then one day it was like he just wasn't, and things unfolded kind of fast, which gave me this opportunity to have to go like, oh, instead of fighting what's happening, let me just be with it and see what is really trying to unfold. And I don't know that I've ever successfully done this that well in a situation like this, so it was really interesting. He, of course it was hard, but there was this opportunity to just be very present with how I was feeling, tune into how he was doing. And I never thought animals were like this, but he really seemed to go through his own process, and we could track it a bit of like fighting it, wanting to get support, then accepting it. And instead of trying to figure out what was right to do and to try to bring everyone to an agreement, we really kept tuning to each other and to him and just let it unfold. And it was sort of a new process of like trusting that we would get there without knowing where we were getting to, and that there wasn't exactly a right thing to do. It was just like, we will just do the best we can each step of the way. And that took some kind of anxiety out of the process and allowed us to kind of be with him, enjoy the time we did have with him, and be in that sacred pause that happens before a transition. So this whole experience also taught me how much it's important to learn to live like moment to moment. And it's not like we've all heard that before, like be in the now. But when you're in something challenging, it's really easy to either pop into what's gonna happen or what was, or you can really stay out of the present feelings and by going into the mind. So that was a huge teacher too, and we allowed ourselves to just kind of go, okay, this is happening now, this is happening, what feels best, and we ended up helping him cross over. But we had no necessarily a plan to do that in the beginning. It was like, let's see what feels right. And we sort of explored some medical care, and it didn't work very well for him in terms of he was not really happy with what it would required of him, and he gave very clear signals when he was ready to go, but he really wasn't until that very morning that we made the decision to support him that way. And so one day I thought maybe it'd be like a couple weeks, and another day maybe it would be much longer, and then things kept shifting. But there was this grace of like allowing myself just to be with what was happening and not arguing with it, I guess is a good way of putting it, and not trying to force it to be something else. So I just am really grateful for the teachings that he gave us through his passing. And he was a kind of traumatized cat from the street, and so he also taught me a lot about healing. Like as he came into our home, and he received incredible care from my partner, who's really a big animal lover. You could just see like these layers come off, because he was very snappy in the beginning. He would never bite, but he would snap like he was going to bite you when you got too close. And he just unfolded into this big, soft, furry guy that was so loving and so present with everyone, and just loved people so much. So anyway, thank you to Enzo for that. And I'm just going to open up and see what comes through in terms of a channeling to kind of talk about this, how we can meet life in a new way, because we're living in a world that has so much change, whether it's outside of us in the public domain or in our homes or inside. There's a lot of change going on too. And it's just asking us to navigate life a little bit differently so that there's more peace and trust, like as we go through these, really significant changes in and outside of us. Okay, so let me just take a moment to tune in. I always ask the archangels to surround me with light to create a safe container for my channeling, so I'll do that inside. Beloved ones, it is I, Yeshua. I join you in these modern times to share my viewpoint on what would greatly assist you in navigating such turbulent energies that exist within your lives. I have not forgotten what it is like to be human. There is an aspect within us when we are human that can struggle greatly with the divine perspective. And in meeting that part of you, in discovering how to work with this aspect, you open the door to incredible grace. Because it is the, if I may use the word, marriage of the divine and the human that you are here to experience. Just this morning, the channel's daughter approached her with just such an issue of feeling a disaffected part that needed attention and awareness and loving. And it provides a great example of this new way of integrating your divine and your human self together. When you're in recognition that both exist and you can embrace them as equal partners, that allows you to move into more of a dance between the two. A directing from a divine perspective, but never leaving behind the parts that are human that may not understand or resist what is occurring in your lives. It is natural for many, to want to turn away from difficult feelings, whether they be shame, guilt, regret, grief, sadness, or overwhelm from seeing what's happening in the world. All these kinds of experiences you have as human call for essentially one thing, and that is love. It might show itself in many forms. It might be best met as love through a compassionate embrace of the feelings that are present and allowing them to be expressed. For example, expressing your sadness with tears and not judging them, or saying, "This is too much," or "Why do I feel this way?" But just allowing them to be. It is simply a meeting. Imagine your divine self sitting in the center of your heart, holding the space, holding a loving presence for this part of you as you feel what it is to be human, which can be so incredibly varied. Another part might need to express its anger and to be held as valid in having the feelings that are being experienced until it melts into the softness of the heart, and is allowed to come to peace, to know the clarity on the other side of that anger and where to take action if needed. Another aspect of this way of being may be to simply hold loving presence as things occur around you. Sometimes there is a tendency to want to collapse into the fear of not knowing what to do or how to handle a situation, or wanting to go straight to the mind, to jump into solutions and answers in a course of action that may be necessary to calm those fears. But the presencing that you can do with yourself from the divine part of you that is most accessible from your center allows first for the emergence of what needs to be felt before you can drop into the peace that is beneath that experience. When you do so, and you allow yourself to run the course of that expression, and then come to what I will call the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, where you have cried all your tears, expressed and felt all your feelings, then there is nothing else but silence, neutrality, a peacefulness that truly comes from your eternal inner nature. And from there, you begin to open to the possibilities, different ways of viewing things, different courses of actions that are not fueled by human emotion so much as the divine perspective. But as you see, you cannot bypass those in order to get there. You cannot skip over what is present in your field and jump to this part of yourself. It requires, or is most easily accessed when you can embrace what is happening around you first and foremost. You may think of this part of yourself as the great mother, a part that, or the great father, or a combination of both that is within you, that resides there to care for you, to hold the presence of love in all things that are unfolding in your life. And it is tuning to this sense of care, devotion, love, grace, of miracles, of possibility. It depends on what the situation is, what your heart will be yearning for. But it is in making a connection to that true essence of that frequency or that vibration that will bring you into harmony between your two parts, the two selves that you work with, that you are made up of. And so I leave this with you to practice, to meet those disaffected parts with a loving devotion, with an invitation to come home, to be at peace within your heart and not be pushed away because they are uncomfortable or because they require you to look at things that you are not proud of, or you may struggle with just making time for. There is a great peace in the stillness, but it will ask you and require you to spend some time in devotion to yourself over all the things in the external world. May you give yourself this gift, for in it there is great love and peace that is willingly emanating and radiating from within your heart and your soul's essence. I am Yeshua. it's beautiful. Hopefully that makes sense. I know everybody has different experiences with their emotional body, and that's sometimes I often channel things that are more a reflection of the way I experience the world, but I know I'm not alone, and if that resonates with you, I'd love to hear more about it in the comments. And if you'd like to work with me, I have offerings around the Akashic Records where we go and look at your life path and what's along that path to navigate in order to deepen in your embodiment of love. So check that out if you're interested at thesacredmandala.com. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the coming months.